Excellent. You can hear me and I can hear you. We're just waiting for our colleague, Athene.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. She's just messaged me. Oh, she also can't find the invitation. Weird, hey? Okay, just bear with us. Sorry, yeah, I sent it at the same time as to you, but obviously there must be something wrong with the Zoom. No problem. So, Linda, while we wait,
Yes.
I'm going to take the liberty of introducing you. So, guys, Linda is one of our affiliated partners. She is, I presume, broadcasting from Maritzburg?
Yes, yes.
Okay, excellent. So, Peter Maritzburg. So, she is locally based and loves working face-to-face. I know you do, and so do we, truly. That's why we partner with Maritzburg Tutor Center, right? But you know what? You can tell us better about yourself. Please do tell us your background, because you have a fascinating background, Linda. You have done so many things, least of which, or perhaps not least of which, CEO of Comrades Marathon, a world-renowned ultra marathon. But that's just one of your CV points. Tell us about yourself, please, because you're actually a case in point. You're an example of someone who's changed her profession or her career many times. And that's what you're in the business of, right? Advising people on career pathing. So please, Linda, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you. And hello, Hugo, and the rest of the audience.
Yeah.
Yes, I have done quite a few things. At the moment, and I say at the moment, I do career counseling. I was mentored by the very well-known Professor Zach Nell, who awoke in me this desire to help. But I'd come back from an education background in as much as that I was principal of Varsity College and had worked in on a few campuses and did turnarounds, etc. And I realized that students really needed help with their career choices and what have you. But as you said, previous to that, Comrades Marathon, I also looked after the Natal cricket team. I looked after Sean Pollock as his manager. What else have I done? Yes,
I didn't even know that. He's one of my all-time favorite players and captains.
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Yeah, I did his Warwickshire contract. You know, when he first went to Warwickshire, and the CEO phoned my then MD and said, "Why do I have to deal with a woman?" Well, that was the wrong thing to say. Anyway, besides that, you know what? I've been very blessed to have had a really all-encompassing career, and just journey. My journey has been fascinating.
Oh, there we go. Joined by
hello, Athene.
Hello, Athene. I think she's still coming on.
Hello.
Hello, Athene.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
It's nice to see you guys. Hello to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great to see you too. And we know this is going to be broadcast on YouTube and Facebook. So yeah, lots of people will be watching us live, and you're welcome to ask questions. And you haven't missed much, Athene. I apologize unreservedly. I think there was a Zoom invitation issue. The same thing happened with Linda. I had to repeatedly send it. For some reason, it didn't send initially. I apologize. But you've not missed much other than Linda telling us a fascinating background story and how she came to be where she is today, which we've heard a little bit about, but I learned something new again. She managed Sean Pollock, the greatest legendary cricketer. Did you know that? I mean, it's brilliant.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
Listen, I'm sorry I missed that, Linda, because I find your life story to be quite a riveting one. So I'm sorry I missed hearing it again, and a little bit of Sean Pollock's history as well, mixed into it.
That was a very interesting time in my life. And I must say that the other thing I was very fortunate, I'll tell you one more thing that I did, is I organized a Timber conference, which required me to go to South America to find exhibitors without a word or a couple of words of Spanish, except for hasta la vista. And, and, you know, I've been fortunate to travel the world. So all of that. And yeah, don't worry, Athena, your journey is yet beginning.
So on that very appropriate segue, I'm going to go right to Athena. So we've heard a little bit about the very interesting and varied past of Linda. Oh, Linda, I think you forgot maybe to mention where you're at right now. Sorry, I apologize.
Oh,
Athena.
sorry.
We haven't got to the
Yes.
present moment where you are. I've kind of have introduced you briefly in the present. I said you're part of Maritzburg Tutor Center and you specialize in career counseling and assessing. But tell us a bit more about that. And people probably don't know what Maritzburg Tutor Center is. So for us South Africans, you want to just put it into context? What is that?
Maritzburg Tutor Center actually was started at the behest of Prof. Sacknell and myself. We saw kids that were in need of nurturing who were not fitting into mainstream. Not because they were weird or taking drugs or anything like that. It's just they didn't fit. And so Maritzburg Tutor Center formed 7 years ago with 3 students. And we've also evolved in that we've become Cambridge aligned, and we offer Cambridge. We do grade 8, which is a preparatory year for Cambridge. Then we move on to the IGCSEs and AS. And we have kids at various stages, and it's just fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. I, in particular, teach business studies, and I do that at IG and at AS level. That really is, it's great fun to bring life to business studies because it can be very dry. And yeah, and then I do career assessing, assisting, helping people plan the way forward, etc.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Linda. So now, Athena, over to you. I just want to introduce everybody to you. And Athena, I just want to clarify, is kind of our in-house, if I may say, better than the word I used last week, resident, because of course we're all working virtually these days. So where do you reside actually makes no difference, you know. So we know Linda's in Pietermaritzburg and Athena happens to be in the same city as I am at the moment in Johannesburg, but you know, her services are offered online, so you know, you can consult her and be ably assisted by her wherever you are in the world, although the focus today is South Africa. But Athena is our in-house educational psychologist, and she offers services related to that. So, but she's also got a very interesting background. I noticed, for example, you didn't mention, but I think you have 2 master's degrees, Athena, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So tell us a bit about yourself, Athena, and welcome.
Thank you. So, I think if we have to go back to my educational journey as well, it's a little bit more complex than I made it sound previously, Hugo. You're absolutely right. I tend to focus a lot on my current career, but when I first left school, I was 17 and I didn't really know 100% what I wanted to study. I'll let you know what I applied for. I applied for law and computers, and for a commerce degree. So the commerce degree was at my dad's behest. He really firmly believed accounting is the way of the future and I need to go and become an accountant. To be fair, he made some good points, but accounting really isn't for me. I think you need such an eye for the fine detail. You need to have a certain set of strengths. And I think, not that I don't have all of those strengths, but I think my strengths are more firmly developed in other areas. So after a year of BCom, I went and I registered for BA, and then I fell in love with psychology. And even with my BA, I must just say, if I may just take a moment, I did all sorts of things. I did history, I did mythology, I did sociology, I did philosophy, I did all sorts of subjects, loved all of them, but really my passion was psychology. And I really wanted to do neuropsychology and clinical psychology. And I applied for the after honors and I didn't get in. So then I did my master's in research psychology. And it was okay. I wouldn't say research was my passion then. But after that, I went and I worked in market research for 2 years. And that I loved. I got to work with banks and with TV stations and with all sorts of different things. I did something on the Absa Curry Cup. I knew nothing about rugby. And by the end of that project, I knew so much about it. And I just loved it. And then one day while I was working there, I was so happy. But one day I woke up and I thought, you know what, I think it's time to get back to my roots. Went and I registered for my master's in educational psychology. Luckily, I was accepted into the program, registered, loved it. Did my internship at the Counseling and Careers Development Unit at Wits University. And I really loved that as well. And I think part of my journey where it was quite a leisurely approach to getting my master's in my field of choice. So I could really identify so much with so many of the students who were coming in with questions about what should I study and how do I make these decisions. And I really enjoyed that so much. After my internship, I went and I worked first in a high school in Hillbrow, which I loved. Worked there for 18 months. Learned so much about the community there, about working with adolescents, and even there working with questions about what do I do with my life? What subjects do I pick early on in the high school career, and then what do I do when I leave school? And then I moved from there to a private school in Bedford View, where I still work during the day, mornings and early afternoons, and I love it. Love the children there. I work with the younger age group now, which is also lovely, getting to explore, you know, the needs of the middle childhood, which I really love. And yes, that brings us to CambriLearn, I guess, in my career trajectory. Yes, I'm feeling very fortunate to be able to continue working in the field of career choices and subject choices with CambriLearn.
Okay, so that brings us to why we are here tonight, actually. So last week we had Athene and another colleague of mine, Heidi, talking about international university placement. In other words, using the world-renowned Cambridge curriculum as a gateway to access international study. And of course, we always thought you have to pair the career guidance assessment services that Athene is offering through CambriLearn. You have to pair that with a suitably qualified university placement agent if you wish to consult someone of that expertise, because then they're actually able to assist you with the university search process and the application procedure thereof. And then we learned that, in fact, your subject choice when it comes to the final years of the Cambridge education system requires already some research in advance, knowing as to what the requirements are for exam sittings, the timings thereof, as well as the subject choices. Okay, so that brings us to today. Today, we're now focusing on the South African market, which, by the way, a lot of Namibians also land up studying at, you know, in the tertiary sector. In fact, a lot of Africans come to South Africa, so this would be applicable to Southern Africa. Okay, so we get, you know, Mozambicans, Angolans, even Francophone Africans often come to South Africa for university studies. So this would apply across our borders. You'd need to know what are the options for university in South Africa. And it's not easy, as Linda will tell you herself, but she's the expert in that. But that's Linda's role. That's what she does. She helps people meet the requirements for entrance, advises them on that, and also intuits what would probably be most suitable based upon her interview and in-depth discussion with the family and the student concerned. Athene would offer a educational consulting and assessment service. So I think maybe because that is the start, Athene, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? And I will also, of course, like I did last time, demonstrate to our potential students out there and our affiliates how they can actually apply for the service using our portal. But maybe let's just start there, if you don't mind, Athene. What exactly are you offering? What are the two services that you're offering?
course. And thank you, Hugo. So the first service is offered at around grade 9 level, and that is the subject choice assessment. And the purpose of that process is to help students whittle down the field of study to their subjects that they want to continue with until the end of their secondary school experience. So it would help students if they're going to go along the IGCE and A-levels route, or if they were going to go along the CAPS curriculum, and just pick the subjects that they would like to take, not just to complete their school careers, but also with the mind of what do I want to do after school. I think that you've already alluded to that a little bit, but part of the subject choice does require you to be mindful of what may the requirements be for my field of study at a later point. For example, if you wanted to do something like accounting or architecture or medicine, you would require maths, for example. You would require certain subjects to be able to be eligible to apply for certain fields. And that process consists of many different assessments, which all are integrated together by myself. This, along with quite an in-depth interview process, is all considered in helping to guide a student towards making their career choice. Towards the end of the high school career, around grade 11, the second last year of study, maybe the last year of study, that's when we would look at the career assessments. And there, it's a similar process where there's an in-depth interview, there's a whole lot of online assessments that the individual has to complete. And the purpose there is to help somebody whittle down, again, all of the possible career fields that they may be interested in, and make an informed decision in terms of what should they be looking at and considering once they complete their secondary schooling journey, so that they're not like me, where they apply to every single faculty that exists at a university. Yeah, so those are the two services. So there's the subject choice, which is earlier on in the high school career, and then the career assessment, which is towards the end of their school career.
Thank you very much. Can we unpack that a little bit, if you don't mind? I'm sorry to get into the weeds, but we need to maybe just spell out the service. So minimum ages for the subject choice assessment, in your opinion, as a guide, pricing, and then also what is the extent of the time commitment required on their side, and how long does it actually take, the whole process, if you don't mind?
Sure, of course. So as I said, the age is it's about the space where the place where they are in their school career. So usually it's around 14, 15 years of age for the subject choice, and then at least the youngest I think would be a suitable age for a career assessment would be the equivalent of grade 11. So 16, 17. I think that's for a couple of reasons. I think that there does have to be a certain level of self-knowledge and awareness. Some of the questions that we look at are things like, what matters to you? What are you looking for in a working environment? How do you want to spend your time? Do you want to spend your time being of service to others? Do you want to spend your time being out in nature? Do you want to spend your time where you are being creative, and you're not necessarily in service of others, but you are creating something to produce beauty and joy in the world? What are the things that what are the things that are of value that resonate for you? And there does have to be a level of self-knowledge, and I think that really comes through a consolidation of your sense of what matters to you, what are your interests, what are your values, what are you looking for, I guess, in a career. Thereafter, so that's the age. once they make an appointment, and I think, Hugo, that you are very good at showing us how they can make an appointment, how they can book the service, and that's that clarifies the cost involved.
Yeah.
But once they have selected the service, I will receive an email and I will respond within 24 hours, and we will set up an appointment for our interview. With the interview, it's just myself and the individual. I think it's really best for the child or the adolescent to be able to speak to me kind of free, just to be able to tell me their life story, the things in their educational journey and their life story up until that point that may be relevant in helping us explore the subjects or the possible careers that are available to them. From there, in the interview, I explain the assessment process, but it will consist of a couple of different online tools, which are all mostly rating scales, and they're asked to indicate how much they agree or disagree with different statements, or whether particular statements are true or false of them. That I like to give about a week for. Obviously, there may be times when somebody may need a little bit longer to complete them, but it is best, I think, to do it in a more confined time. I need a couple of days just to integrate that information together, along with the information from the interview. And within a couple of days, I'll be able to set up the feedback appointment. The feedback appointment is with the individual plus parents, anybody who would like to be a part of the feedback. And then we really talk about how all of that information is integrated and what does that mean for the individual. And thereafter, I send through a report. So the full process should take approximately 2 weeks from the time that they have booked the service up until the time that they receive the report.
Brilliant, thank you. And you quite rightly said I need to just show them how they can actually go and buy that service, because there is a process on the website which is actually quite advantageous. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to briefly share the screen, because then it shows people how to go about doing it. We do share your email, Athene. Okay. In fact, we maybe can type it there. It's Athene. I'll try to make sure. .Clayton, is it?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, see, I forgot that part last time. Okay, at CambriLearn.com. So you are welcome to email Athene directly. However, to go to purchase, so to speak, to subscribe to a service, I want to just show you how that's done. Okay, so it's brief, but and it's quite simple. But okay, so ladies, just let me know if you can see the dashboard for the student with the catalog. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda. I think Athene's frozen a bit. Okay, so guys, where you go is you click here. I am on the Cambridge catalog. You can click on the CAPS curriculum catalog. We just happen to have listed the educational psychology services on our Cambridge curriculum. But of course, if you're doing the South African curriculum CAPS, you're most welcome to make use of these services too, because you might still want to be going abroad or locally and want advice on career counseling or subject choice. Of course, this is not just applicable to internationally minded students. Okay, but there we go. So I've filtered on the fees. So I'm on the catalog item fees, and I've now selected educational psychologist services on the left, and you can see there they're listed as career guidance assessment and subject choice assessment. And what you'll notice is you can pay it off once off, and you do get, of course, a preferential rate. So effectively you're looking at about $210 for the subject choice assessment. That's the one that's done at the younger age. So that's about 4,000 Rand, I think we said, Athene, not even, I think 3,000, huh? Was it? Yeah, about 3,000 more likely. 3 and a bit, yeah, depending on the exchange rate. And then the other one, $280, is more in the region of about $4,000, 4,000 Rand, 280 US dollars. You can pay it in South African Rands, do not worry. But what's very advantageous about doing this through CambriLearn, which is unusual in this respect, is that you can actually subscribe to this on a monthly basis. So there's a monthly payment plan still applicable, like for all our services. And that's particularly unusual in this industry, because normally when you take on an educational psychology assessment or a career counseling guidance consultation, you'll be required to pay the whole thing up front or in 2 installments at most. And this actually allows you to take up the service, to use it up within 2 weeks and pay it off over 10 months. quite price advantageous. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention because that's how you actually literally subscribe to the service. Okay, great. All right, so now, Linda, thank you very patiently sitting there. Linda, this is where you would come in often at this point, right? Because imagine, the student has been assessed, they've chosen their subjects, but they're not quite sure what university they're going to apply to, and they're not quite sure what the university requirements are. And Cambridge, as we discovered last week, is quite tricky. Linda, you're a specialist in this. So now this is where they probably consult you. Am I right? At this point, they want your advice on where you think they should apply and what they need to apply with. Am I right?
Yeah. I do start with subject selection, but not for everybody. I really do it on a specialized basis, and a lot are based in KZN where they want to talk to me, because I think we need to understand that the South African higher education, in particular the publics, totally inflexible. There is no wriggle room in terms of meeting criteria. And with Cambridge in particular, let's just take medicine, engineering, anything that needs to have the science, the BSc, you have to have physics and chemistry as separate subjects to AS level, minimum. Okay, so there is an option in Cambridge to do physical science as a one subject. Combined, but I really am of the opinion that, in particular, the chemistry course, you should be doing ICSE chemistry and ICSE physics to give you the basis. Okay, so and just one thing I want to remark on grade 9, and when choosing subjects, please have a little bit of fun. Have a subject that you love to go to. Leonardo da Vinci to me is such an ideal, iconic figure. There he was, science and art, and actually a bit of drama in there as well. So, he's just bear that in mind. Some of the doctors that I know are the most awesome actors, or they sculptors, or they painters. They just, you know what, you need to have that. Or ballet dancers. I have a friend who's a ballet dancer and she's a doctor. Okay, so let's move on to universities. There are two types of tertiary institutions. One is public, and by public, that means it's funded by the government. Then there is private. Private is funded either by shareholders, etc. And let me give you an example. An international example would be Harvard University is a private. Princeton is a private. Cornell is a private. But UCLA, which is the University of California in Los Angeles, that is a public. So here in South Africa, we have approximately 26 publics. And this includes universities of technology, where you can get a B.Tech degree. The major university, and before I go there, there are 10 universities that offer the MPCHB, which is your medical degree. 10 universities, of which I recommend that you need to apply to at least 6 at the same time. And it has to be a first choice. Medicine must be a first choice. And the trick with medicine is what you choose as your second, so that when the time is right, you can articulate into medicine. But that's another story. That's a whole different degree. So let's just quickly decode something. BCom, Bachelor of Commerce. BSc, Bachelor of Science. BA, Bachelor of Arts. BBA, a Bachelor of Business Administration. BEng, B Engineering. BSoc Sci, B Social Sciences. So there's a whole bouquet of, or there's just a whole number of things that can be quite a minefield for parents and for students when applying. So the things to remember is, so many of our public degrees are 3-year degrees. That means it goes to an NQF 7 level. However, if you do a 4-year degree, it will go to an NQF 8, and that means you don't need to do honors. It means honors is incorporated into your 4-year degree. So when you listen to Athene trying to get honors, etc., that is because her degree was 3 years, and now you have to apply. And you can apply to any university offering that particular honors course. And that Athene had to do research does not surprise me, because clinical is so difficult to get into. So well done, Athene, for getting into clinical. You were patient. It took patience. So, you know, people often say, I want to be a psychologist. Now, and Athene will support me here. There's so many kinds of psychologists. Are you clinical? Are you educational? Are you neuro, etc.? So it's also not particularly important that you know that in your first year, but you also need to carry on discovery. So let's go to the public institutions, and I'll give you their current world rankings as they are at the moment. At the top is UCT. UCT is our #1 university in South Africa and in Africa, and is highest on the ranking lists. It actually is at 200, where do they fall? 269. And there are numerous kinds of rankings. So I'm just giving you one. Second is the University of Wits, Witwatersrand. Wits University, great alumni. They put huge money into Wits. So please don't shy away from Wits. It's a great university, and their medical school is one of the best, and so is their finance. And they ranked at 292. Next, at 435 is Stellenbosch University, but it is #3. And the next one is KwaZulu-Natal, believe it or not. Yes, they come in. And KwaZulu-Natal used to be 3rd in the world rankings. Pretoria is next. And then a university that's totally underrated is UJ, the University of Johannesburg. Wow, has their offerings just exploded, and the different kinds of offerings that you can get in the medical field, in computers, in construction, in engineering, etc. So that's one I would also look out for. And then you get the roads, etc. So that is how it stands. And it's very interesting that UCT is also the most expensive university to attend. I think it's the Mountain View res rooms that cost so much money. I must just say, yeah, because they do
ask. Interrupt you there, Linda,
yes.
if I may. Sorry, just because I want to bring to the attention of our audience that I've posted your email as well, linda@maritzburgtutorcenter.co.za, because Linda, you know, is not an in-house consultant. She's working, as she said, at Maritzburg Tutor Center, but you can contact her direct. And of course, if you want numbers, you're welcome to reach me. Okay, just want to put that out there, Linda.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let me tell you about some of the different degrees very quickly. Pretoria University. Now, unfortunately, it requires maths core, and in this case, it would be maths extended, maybe it would include AS maths, is a B consumer studies degree in either retail or food. Now, the beauty of this degree is that it's not becoming a dietitian. You're not going to serve up hospital food. In retail, they call it the Mr. Price degree because it's going to take you into the world of retail fashion. Then the food degree, they call the Mr. Woolworths or Woolworths degree. It takes you into food and, you know, all those lovely, delicious meals we want to pick up at Woolies or Checkers or Pick and Pay. That's what you're doing. You're researching. The thing that Athene loves most is you are looking at consumer behavior and you're looking at what does the consumer want. It is a fabulous degree for anybody who is doing consumer sciences and really likes the kind of fashion food, but maths it's a non-negotiable, and I have tried. There've been people who really deserve that. Then at Stellenbosch University, we have this wonderful commerce degree called a BCom in International Business, a selection program, but it is the only university that offers this in South Africa. It's a combination of science and humanities. It is just fabulous. In your first year, you need to choose a language. You can choose from either French, Spanish, German, no Spanish, French, German, Mandarin, and Spanish. And you do that as part of your first year. But in your first year, you're going to be able to choose electives like political science or philosophy, but you're also going to do things like economics. You're going to do a little bit of financial management. You're going to do stats. Everybody has to do stats. Doesn't matter where you are, even BAs do stats. So, but here's the beauty. As you evolve in this degree, in your third year, you get to go overseas at a university that Stellenbosch has a reciprocity with, or you can go to. And this includes Trinity College in Dublin. And you go over for a semester, you take English taught modules, so you don't have to be going to China or Germany or Spain. You can choose, and it's America, it's Mexico, it's China, it's Germany, Maastricht in Holland, all over, and you get to choose and go and spend a semester. This is a 4-year degree. And what does it qualify you for? It qualifies you to work in NGOs, in the United Nations, your own consultancy, banks, large corporates have international footprint. You need somebody with linguistic talent, but also business and interpersonal. I think one of the modules is consumer behavior. It could be in your third year. I can't quite remember, but it's a wonderful degree. Selection. 80% minimum is your aggregate that they will look at, and 80% for maths. They've upped it, the number from 30 to 60. It's doable. It's a lovely, fabulous, fabulous degree. Stellenbosch have also started offering a brilliant data analytics, big data. This is the name of the game. Then you have Pretoria, that's renowned for its engineering faculty. People tend to go to Pretoria, but I need to tell you that Stellenbosch is picking up on mechatronics, as is UCT. So the pockets of excellence, no matter where you look in South Africa. And I need to tell you that our degrees are first class, are world class. We stand head and shoulders. And in fact, there are quite a few international students that come to study in South Africa. Firstly, the Rand is a doddle, and they can live the life of Larry at our universities and have the finest education. Okay, am I right for time?
Yes, you're perfect. In fact, can I give a bit of context as to what, I mean, I'm fascinated. You're making me want to go back to university. You make it so appealing, and and mind-blowing. But I just want to contextualize, if I may, why are you talking about all these options is because you recommended that an undergraduate degree is actually very affordable and highly regarded worldwide by these top-ranked universities, public universities in South Africa. And if you then wish to go overseas, you suggested doing it as a postgraduate. Am I right? Do you want to just maybe elaborate a little bit on that? Because I think that's a very important point.
Yeah. What I do want to emphasize is that you need to do 4 years of university. You need to get to an NQF 8 so that you can immediately go into masters. So internationally, lots of the universities have 4-year degrees and they don't quite know what honors is, maybe in Australia, whatever. But I would recommend 4 years, and then the world is your oyster. They're always looking for great South African graduates, and we have great South African graduates.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know this is now slipping back into the myths of Cambridge. Can we just clarify, Linda? I know I'm being very brass tacks here, but there's this myth out there that you're at a disadvantage if you do Cambridge, being accepted into a South African university, or that it's not recognized. Or what about the points calculator? Let me be as bold as to say, people obsess about the fact that, you can matriculate, you can finish with the matric equivalent certification recognized by University South Africa with far fewer subjects than you would take at a South African school. You have to graduate school with 7 subjects on the national curriculum, but you can graduate with merely 4 subjects sometimes on the AS certificates from Cambridge. Now, parents obsess about this because they're like, but how does the APS calculator work? Can you unpack that a bit for us, please? Because it's a common concern.
Okay, let me tell you about the APS calculator. The first thing is that no South African university are the same. None of them have possibly collaborated. No, let's all do our own thing. Okay. The one university that uses APS points as it should be is Pretoria.
Yep.
Okay. Wits have their own, but then they add 2 here and add 1, 2 for English and 6 over there for who knows what. Stellenbosch go by average. They say we want a minimum of 50 for English or AC. We want a D for maths, and we want an overall aggregate of at least 50. Okay. Oh, now we get to UCT. UCT have faculty points. No, they have academic or degree point scoring. Then they have faculty point scoring. It all is just amazing. I don't know whether they employ hundreds of people to do this, but it is a minefield, and I can understand why parents say, what's happening. Now, the good news is that they understand Cambridge and they treat Cambridge separately to that of the National Senior Certificate, which, by the way, whether you get a public school, government school certificate, or an IEB certificate, at the end of the day, they all come out with one certificate, which is Amalusi, a National Senior Certificate. It doesn't say I did IEB, I did whatever. Cambridge is treated differently, as is the baccalaureate, and you would know about the baccalaureate. So it's seen as a foreign degree, but because of immensely wonderful work done by schools as well as other people, universities have taken the time to find out what Cambridge is about. So Pretoria know, Wits know, Stellenbosch knows, UCT knows, all your major universities. Actually, if you go onto their catalogue or their brochure, you will see the scoring for Cambridge. What is perhaps a kind of what do we apply with is maybe a question mark. So let me answer it for you this way. You can apply with your completed ICSEs, and maybe you've done an AS, let's say Afrikaans, which, by the way, for all of you who hate Afrikaans, ICSE Afrikaans is horrid. AS Afrikaans is so fabulous, you will get a 70 or an 80% on AS. Do not be discouraged because there's no oral. It's just writing. Okay, anyway. So what you need is to apply with your Cambridge results. And they're going to ask you for copies of your certificates. And I would recommend that you have at least 5 to 6 IGs to apply with, so that they get a good idea as to where you are. And then what you do is, what I normally recommend is, I then give the university a sheet which says, here are the exes, here's the, and this is the subject they're going to do to AS or to A level. This is when they will write those, and this is when the marks are anticipated. So what you do is you keep updating as you get your marks, as you write off, whether it's in November, whether it's in May, etc. But Hugo knows best about the sitting rules that you need to have. But honestly, parents and students, you ever listening, it's a myth. It's an urban legend. I think it's done by some horrid people who don't want Cambridge. And sorry to be so rude, but
can I quote you, Linda? Can I quote you?
Yeah, you can. And you know, I also spend my life sometimes on the phone to faculties trying to explain to them. I will tell you this, that I know from a chancellor that I happened to meet once, and she said to me that she believed that the Cambridge students at AS level, and maybe 1A level maybe, were at least 3 months ahead of National Senior Certificate students in terms of their academic, because you are ideal for those who are doing this hybrid learning or this thing. Do you know how well prepared you're going to be for university, for independent working? To understand, to research. That's what Cambridge does. It makes you dig. It makes you find that information and then use it. And you learn to reason, justify, describe, all of those things that you don't get to do. But let me not go on about that. Does that answer the questions on the myth?
That's brilliant. Thank you, because there is a lot of fear mongering out there. You're right. Perpetuated by people with agendas, and there's a lot of and there's a lot of concern, understandably, because lack of familiarity from a lot of our parents. It's a foreign qualification. They don't understand the system, you know. But let me maybe bring Athene back here, because Athene, this is part, I think, of the psychological counseling that you can give. Your process involves both the child and the parents. Am I right? Do you want to just explain that a bit? Because I think obviously it's a big anxiety for parents that their child be set up for success and, you know, and have the opportunity to excel at their strengths and to, you know, to have a successful career after school. But also for the child, right? So do you want to just explain how you deal with the parents, the child, the report, the nature of the reporting that comes out of your assessment, if you don't mind?
Sure. And I think that's a really good question, because you're right. You're managing so many different individuals in the process. I think in cases, parents have verbalized that their child's their high school journey, which includes making decisions about which subjects they need to do and what their possible careers are and where they have to apply, it's almost more anxiety provoking for them as parents than when they were going through the process themselves, as when they were children and adolescents. So I think there's a lot, generally there's a lot of anxiety. To be honest, career counseling for me is always one of the nicest areas of the work, because it really is about helping people figure out what they're passionate about, what their interests are, what they're good at, and helping them kind of weave all of that together to help them figure out a sense of direction in terms of their journey. And hopefully by the end of the process, they do have an idea of what will help give them a greater sense of direction and purpose also, what will maybe help them feel that passion every single day. The interview does need to, unfortunately, the interview does need to be confined to the child and the adolescent. And that's because I think it's important that their voice is heard. As I said to you, when I was making decisions, my father, with the best of intentions, his voice was a little bit louder than mine when it came to making the decision. And it didn't come from a bad place. It really came from such a place of caring and concern and wanting the best for me, and using his expertise and his experiences and his interests and his strengths. He would have been a great accountant, and he did become accounting up until third level and third year, and he loved it. I really didn't even want to do 1 year. So it's a different, it's two different stories. So to keep the interview about the child and the adolescent, the adolescent has to be the one who's part of the interview, unfortunately. But with the feedback session, the parents are absolutely invited. I do feel that the adolescent's voice has got to be the most dominant one in the process, though. The parents absolutely can give their guidance and their input, and I wouldn't want to exclude them from the process. But I do want the adolescent to be the one who talks to me about their journey, the things that really resonate for them, their successes, and also some of their struggles, and how they make their decisions about what they want to study, or what they want to continue studying for school, or what they might want to do thereafter. There may even be a decision about, do they want to even study? And their parents might say, well, you absolutely are going to university. And the student may say, well, actually, I don't want to go. I'm not ready for that yet. I may never want to go. And I think there really is no correct path. I think this process is really about helping the adolescent figure out, to have enough information to make an informed decision for the next step. I do want to just correct something that you said a little bit earlier, Linda. So I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm an educational psychologist.
Oh, sorry.
I think the reason that I mention this now is because I think if I had somehow been able to strike it lucky straight out of honors and do clinical psychology, I don't know if I would be as happy in my work. I think I love my work as an ed psych. As an educational psychologist, that's my passion. So taking a very scenic route has really helped me. Even doing 2 years of market research, I would never have had the love of research that I have now if I hadn't had that practical experience where I worked with great people who said, let's figure out how to tell stories of brands and companies and so on. So I think, if you sort of do take a bit of a scenic route, it's also okay, because that's part of your life story. And I think it's something that you probably resonate with quite a bit as well, Linda. I think if you had to go back to your matric self and say, this is what you would be doing today, I think your matric self would be like, no, I don't think so. So I think it's really about giving the adolescent guidance for the next step, possibly for, quite a long period of their journey. It may even be that they remain in that field for the next 30, 40, 50 years. But, it may also be that they, it's just for the next step for the next 3 to 5 years. Importantly, it's about helping them figure out how they can approach the next step with a lot of information guiding their decision, and hopefully in a way that will help them reach success and feel a sense of purpose in what they're doing, whatever that next step may be, and a sense of fulfillment. And giving them a little bit more self-knowledge as well. I think that self-knowledge is so important. And that's a nice thing about this process. And I think that's why career guidance and career assessments has always been one of the areas that I've loved about the world of psychology, because it really is about helping anybody get clarity in terms of what matters to them, what they're good at, what gives them joy and purpose, and how they can translate that into the next move.
Hugo,
Yes,
can
Linda.
I just quickly talk about the private institutions?
Please do, yeah, because I actually realize now you've mentioned the public university and their ranking. Tell us about the private, yeah, and what are private?
Private,
Yeah, give us some examples.
we just have such a variety. It's like a cornucopia, actually, of places. I'm going to name a few. There's Varsity College that I was a part of years ago. There's Inscape, there's Newbridge, which is a whole new look at tertiary education, fabulous. Vega School of Branding, oh my word. I think if I had my time over again, I'd definitely be going to a Vega on brand building. You can do a BCom. And the thing now with Vega is they have just been accredited with a doctorate. They can offer a PhD in brand management. There's not another private that can do that. Then you get Monash. Monash is a university that is also based in Australia, but because of the regulations, no foreign country or foreign company can own a higher education institute in South Africa. So it was brought under the banner of the IIE. Now, here is something to remember. It is the one private university that you can do engineering, electrical and electronic, and mechanical, and they offer BScs. There is not another private that offers that quite yet, because setting up BScs and that, it's a very expensive thing. Anyway, and then you've got SACAP, the South African College of Applied Psychology. They have a fabulous BA Psych degree in counseling with applied psychology and counseling. So you get that counseling skill. So if you like what Athene does and I do, you know, there we go.
I used to lecture there. Linda, I used to lecture at SACAP, and I must tell you what's so nice about it is it's got such a practical component. So
yes,
you have to practice counseling skills. You have to practice a little bit of like even family work. You get to practice everything, and there's a process where whether you're doing the higher certificate, the diploma, or the degree course, you have to do a practical component where you actually go and work in the field,
I think they call it
something that really differentiates it.
Work integrated learning. We used to call that.
That's correct. Yes.
We used to call that at Varsity College. Then it's Stellenbosch. And you see now, here's a little story. Most of the students, not most, I'm exaggerating, but there are students that walk in and say to me, I want to go to Stellenbosch. I go, okay, but they don't offer what you should be doing. That's okay. What will fit me? Is there anything else? What's second choice? So we have students who base their decision on location. Okay. And so I've always said, you know, if you had some money, set up an institute in Stellenbosch, you'll make it back in quickly. So there's this Stellenbosch Academy of Design and Photography. They offer a very good BA in visual communications, but it is the creative side. So you will be doing graphic design, etc. We also have a School of Animation, both in Johannesburg and in Cape Town. They offer a diploma, but you know what? That's all that you need, because if you have the talent, you will get the job. Now, the interesting thing about Vega is they reckon 97% of their graduates have jobs before they leave in their final year, which is unbelievable. That is how highly recommended. It used to be AAA, it's now Vega, where you go to for creative. There is, as I say, there's Inscape. You can go and do a degree in interior architecture. You can do one in sustainable development that includes a bit of architecture and interior. You can do a degree in fashion. So there is we mustn't be narrow-minded and just look at the publics, because everybody thinks that these degrees are that at the privates are not recognized. Let me tell you, they have undergone the exact same scrutiny as that of the publics. When I was at Varsity College, we were getting accreditation, and I was principal at the time, and I was being scrutinized by 5 others from public universities, came onto the campus and spent time to make sure that what we were offering was not snake oil, but was in fact exactly what they were teaching, if not better. And in fact, there was always a rivalry between publics and privates. And I went and spoke to one of the chancellors at Wits. I said, what is it that you don't like about the privates? He said, because they don't ever have to have the begging bowl. And the begging bowl is when you go and ask your alumni, please to give money so that your university can have more money. And privates don't, because you know what? They're run like businesses. And you should expect exceptional service from a private, because you are going to pay for that. So yeah, that's mine.
You know, ladies, we've actually run out of time, but you know, can I just ask ask one more thing? We might have to continue this another time. I'm just thinking, you can see this has opened up a whole world. And I mean, just in South Africa, you mentioned how many universities public alone? 26.
26.
26. Yes. And then there's still the private ones, and that's just South Africa. I mean, wow. Okay, so that's just the public ones. Then you mentioned the private ones. But I wanted to just say, am I right, Linda, and of course, Athena, you offering your services not just to adolescents. Of course, we're mentioning the scholars, because normally our service is about, you know, articulating, transitioning students from secondary school to tertiary level of study. But am I right that adults can take up your services if they wish to change careers? Yes?
I'm a bit hesitant.
Okay.
Athena, that I'm going to leave that to Athena. I'm a little bit hesitant because my day is so full, and I give to and I think adults also need that special tender loving care, and yeah, I would rather that they went to somebody like Athena. I love my other side. Okay, please don't get me wrong, people. I'd love to help, but I find adolescents really just, I get so involved that it's not good for me.
That's your passion. Yeah, you can't help yourself. I understand. Athena,
Yeah,
but am I right? Do you want to come in here and tell us a little about that?
I feel that, you know, just as we go through life and we grow and we learn and we explore different environments and we explore different facets of ourselves, I think there are often points in our lives where we do consider different career paths, and sometimes it isn't necessarily about a different career path altogether, but maybe it's about looking at a different role within the current career field. Sometimes it's even maybe just about exploring what would the options be if I did want to go back to study. So I've worked in the career for a while, but the career, the possible careers around me have changed so much. If I wanted to go and study, if I just wanted to learn more about my career, what sort of options are there? I think there's always room, as long as there's room to grow and to explore the world around us, there is scope for this particular process, the career assessment and counseling process.
Brilliant.
Hugo, if I could just say, at the age of 23, you only need a matric pass. You don't need a degree pass to go into university.
As a mature age student. Thank you. That's actually very important to keep in mind.
And then when you're 40, you don't even need to have had a matric. They reckon you know what you want to do, and you're old enough to have made that decision, and it's your responsibility. So don't be put off by, oh, I don't have a matric, oh, I don't have this. And then just very lastly, I want to tell you that there are so many options for computers and computer engineering, computer science, etc., And that in itself is a whole different topic, but both private and public, and the world is technology, and we need to acknowledge that. Thanks, Hugo.
Thank you, ladies. I'm so sorry we ran out of time, but that just shows how much there is to discuss. Wow. Like I said, you've made me want to go back, and I miss my undergrad. I miss my postgrad studies too, actually, I have to say. But wow, I mean, there's a whole world out there. We may have to bring you together again, hey, because you've really whet my appetite, and I think a lot of youngsters will be inspired by you, and even those of us of a bit more mature age might well be inspired to go look at pursuing second careers or a complete change of life. I mean, who knows? Okay, so thank you so much for your time. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Athena. Thank you, Linda. This has been an eye-opener. It's been inspiring for me personally. I hope our audience found it as well. And for those of you, I know we're live streaming on SA Commuter Radio and on YouTube on their channel. Shout out to you. Shout out to our own YouTube channel where this will be propagated. Thank you so much. And look out for our next webinar, because I do think we need to revisit this at some point in the future. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you, Hugo.
Okay.
Cheers, Sabrina.
Cheers. Bye.
Goodbye.